Send the first notice of conditional acceptance without prejudice, giving a 10-day deadline and tacit clause. Make a copy of the signed letter and keep it safe. Attach a proof of posting and delivery. Number 2, on the 11th day, send your second notice of conditional acceptance. It can be a copy of the first, but print it with the new date and sign it again in blue ink, denoting contract. Note any lack of response in the manner you require in your next letters to them. I note that further to my letter of date such and such, I have not received a suitable response to the matters raised. Step 3, on the 22nd day, send the third notice of conditional acceptance. Same deal, you don't need to reply to their gumph if they don't respond as you've required, just keep on your path. 4, on the 33rd day, send a notice of default. If you have sent all the letters accordingly and you have proofs of posting and delivery, you have evidence of a lawful agreement which stands in a court. You will never need to go to court because no judge will want to face you. 6, send all other correspondence back, but make a copy of it for your reference and note the date of receipt. Don't keep it because it is implicitly accepting it. If they continue to send mail, send a cease and desist notice to the man. Inform them that it is a private communication, meaning you are intending common law action if they persist. Print over the top of any fake court documents from the utility companies with warning, fraudulent action, and return it promptly. A valid warrant requires the wet red ink signature of a judge and a court seal, not a printed digital stamp. Any business court documents that the utilities companies have issued themselves are fraudulent. St. Catherine's House is not a lawful court. Give them a warning that you require sight of any warrant and notice of any hearing regarding a warrant application or of any intended action. There won't be one because it isn't a court, or it will be a batch of defendants in one hearing, which is against procedure rules. If you attend the hearing, they will tell you that it has been withdrawn so that the judge can carry on his scamming the ignorance but not have to face you. Use clausula rebus sextantibus BC CRSS Kate of Gaia if you are ever drawn to a court and you're not sure. Enter it into the court file. Refer to Kate's own site for more information. Getting organised. Things you'll need: a printer and a scanner, copier or access to one, blue pen for contract, red pen for live individual. Do not sign in black pen to avoid the implicit indication that you are a dead or corporate entity. Notice their letters and how they sign them, and if they are even qualified with a signature at all. Anything not signed by an identifiable agent or person has no force or effect whatsoever. It's toilet paper. You'll need a glue stick, envelope, stapler, copy paper, folders with sleeves to put your letters in, printable sticky labels, or make your own and stick them on with a glue stick. A PDF of Black's Law Dictionary. Always get a proof of posting, and if possible send it signed for. Staple it to your letter that you retain and print out the delivered notice on the post office website. General tips. Be very organised and file all of your letters in date order in a binder. Note the dates when the letters were actually received, sometimes long after their dated letters. Get good at opening letters without tearing them so you can seamlessly reseal them with a glue stick and return them with a label, return to sender, addressee not recognised, no contract. Return everything that you do not agree or consent to, but make your own copy of it and then file it. Build a case for yourself. Collect the evidence you need to back yourself up on your position. Example, not being registered to vote, having your documents available such as the birth certificate. Send a cease and desist notice to those who continue to send you mail. Tackling council tax. Remove your consent to being governed by taking yourself out of the electoral roll. Do not register to vote. I quit my corporate contracted job to add weight to my argument that I was not in the system consenting to tax and could not be obliged to pay tax without an income. I responded to every letter to remain honourable, but did not do as I was told to do. I used initially lawful rebellion. This is kind of called Starve the Beast by John Hurst. I think there are good reasons to withdraw from the system here, but the legal name fraud is the only thing that stopped them. Resident, occupier, and other addressee titles are legalese titles and are only applicable by consent. Adopt the position non-resident for tax purposes. They ended up instructing a bailiff, but I sent them cease and desist and made it very clear in no uncertain terms that they were not welcome on my property. They did not persist. Tackling the utilities. The utilities were a gift to the people when the system crashed years ago. They had no right to privatise them and sell them off. The utilities companies will threaten to enter your property and will apply to a fake court to get a fake warrant. This is all fraud. You can print over their documents to highlight that fact and return them promptly to demonstrate no consent. At best, the utilities deal with a magistrate's criminal jurisdiction. Applying for a warrant to force entry to your property for non-payment is fraud and perjury, since they would only have right of entry to stop a leak, for example. The utilities will obtain a fake CCJ county court judgment which will affect your credit rating. The credit repair is possible by writing to the company dealing with that. Cutting off your water supply or your power supply is illegal. Utilities are bound by legislation which permits the supply to be cut off in the case of no one living there, or if there is a leak and if work needs to be carried out, etc. Civil jurisdiction, and suitable notice must be given for that purpose. Check any acts they quote in their correspondence on legislation.gov. See their lies. A further note to add in respect to water services is the issue of fluoridation of the water supply. There is much debate over this, and I encourage you to do your own research to make up your own mind. Fluoride is a byproduct of the manufacturing industry and is also a chemical used in rat poison. It was used in Nazi Germany to subdue the prisoners in the concentration camps. Some water authorities are now fluoridating the water supply, and there is intention by others to begin doing so. Yorkshire Water is an example. For the purpose of this presentation, I wish to say that if you do not want to be medicated through the water supply, you have every right to self-determine and to withdraw all consent and payment for services which are not to your liking. In contractual terms, they are changing the terms of contract without your agreement to it, so you have a right to withdraw from that contract, if there ever was a contract, which there wasn't. The right to self-determine your medication is a strong point to raise in any conditional acceptance to the water supply services. Tackling credit cards. Credit card and overdraft tips. Credit cards are relatively easy to write off. If they send you a notice of default, do not return it, as it would be proof that you have received notice. If they don't have proof, they have no weight to rely on at court. Lending money at interest is usury and fraud. No money was ever lent to you. You have received numbers on a screen, nothing of value or substance, and they have charged you money for that facility. Your labour or value has been extorted at no actual cost to them. The mechanics of the transaction is the same as swindling. No contract is enforceable as there was nothing of value or no disclosure of their methods. A contract with a credit card is a unilateral agreement, one signature, and is not enforceable in law unless you consent at a court. A court will act in its own interest. You do not need to attend a court, but a ruling will likely go against you in your absence. Damned if you do, damned if you don't. If you write off your bank overdraft, you will need a new bank account. You may only be able to obtain a low-level, non-credit basic account facility. In summary, you're being deceived by the so-called authorities and establishment. You are consenting to a system which is extorting your value from you, your energy. You are being subjected to fraudulent practices which are commonplace within the banking and other financial or governmental establishments for their own gains. You have rights which are hidden from you and give you power beyond authoritarian rule. By discovering these facts, you are on a path to freedom and enlightenment if you choose. By knowing who you are and standing in your power, you claim authority over yourself and your life. Growing forward is a natural state of being because change is inevitable. The nature of your thoughts and choices determine the quality of the experience you have in this life. In short, you are participating in a game without your knowing, being subject to rules and penalties which you are paying for and losing at every day. You may feel like the system benefits you, and so why bother making a stand? How often is your own will recognized in that system? The system acknowledges itself as de facto. See the next slide. Essentially, it's an illegitimate government or court, etc. This is the only credibility it has. Take a look at the world around you and see how the system fails many people, leaving many in dire circumstances. Try to develop compassion for the less fortunate and act with intention for the benefit of all people. Observe how the system increases its power over you step by step, little by little. How long will you go on believing in material benefits over your rights and your freedoms? De facto. The system is known as de facto, or illegitimate, but for all intents and purposes it stands. It is held in front of your face. See the next slide. It stands because you and everyone else who knowingly or unknowingly participates and contributes accepts it as legitimate. Therefore, it is seen as legitimate and continues to act as if it is. This is absurd. If more people were really to look out for each other and decide to have a peaceful world, it is possible. We must desist from funding and participating with unlawful governments and authorities whose only agenda is war on all of humanity. It's a matter of principle and a matter of life and death. My will is to restore justice and awareness of our natural rights, to be free from oppression and state authoritarian interference, to be independent of state, be honourable, be a full human being in the natural capacity, living privately, sharing and contributing knowledge to educate, to act for the benefit of all beings and the greater good, correct mistakes, misrepresentation and fraud, highlight fraud and deception, empower individuals to be able to make a choice to self-determine, assist and restore the natural balance to this earth, and live in peace and harmony.